Hello, high school hockey fans. It's the end of the season edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm Mike Hammett, Michael Terzinski, a.k.a. Trasher, and father and son are with us tonight as we are to do our end of the season This Week in Wisconsin. And obviously we're going to talk about, of course, the championship games that we had. And let's go ahead and start with the boys D2 game. Northland Pines and Fond du Lac Springs. And who wants to open this one up?
Well, I'll start just by saying there were too many damn penalties called in this game.
I agree. There was no flow in this game at all.
Yep, 16.
16 penalties in a game where neither team was being cheap.
And where do you see it on Twitter? Somebody said, "Yeah, good idea by the WIA taking guys who've never worked together before and pairing them up for the state tournament." And I refed for a lot of years, and I had guys I liked working with. I had guys that I didn't like working with. And the ones that I worked with the most often, you know what they're going to call. And in the two-referee system, like, the one guy's down in the corner, you see something happen in the corner, and you look at him, and, yeah, he saw it. He didn't think it was a penalty. No big deal. Something else happens down in the corner. You look at him, and, it's like, man, did he see that? Because that's something he normally would have called. So then if you think, well, he didn't see it, so I'll call it. But you got two guys who never worked together. They were just calling every little thing. I don't know if they were on straight pay or they got paid by the penalty. They were. I mean, how many interference calls on a guy that had the puck? I mean, checking a guy that had the puck and you get called for interference. I mean, how does that happen?
Yeah, I always thought that anytime you had the puck and somebody knocked you off it, that was just a part of the game. There wasn't a penalty called on that.
Yeah, and I had the benefit of being where I was in our booth of watching all the replays on the live stream TV. And there were elbowing calls where guys' elbows were in on their sides. How do you get an elbowing call when your arm is in on your sides? Stuff like that. It was just too many penalties. 5-on-5, it was a great game, but it was so little 5-on-5. Springs had 2 5-on-3 goals. Pines got 3 penalties in the span of, I think it was 1 minute and 42 seconds at the end of the first period and the start of the second period. And, some of them may have been legit. I don't know that most of them would have been called most of the time.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. We're not trying to say that, the penalties cost Northland Pines the game or anything like that. I'll really say it marred what was really a good game. It just broke up the flow. It made the game a little harder to watch. Congratulations to Fond du Lac Springs. They played a very good game. The guys you expected to dominate out there dominated. A great performance by Fond du Lac Springs. We should probably talk about the positives of the game before we hit on the negatives. But I started that, so go figure.
Yeah.
Go
ahead,
I'm
MJ.
looking here at the stats. As I'm looking here at the stats in the game, power play is Fond du Lac Springs 2 for 9. North Plains wasn't able to convert on the power play at all, which probably didn't help at all.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the two teams combined for 2 for 16 on the power play, so it's not like the power plays were the final decider of the game. It was just, they ruined the flow. Welsh, as you would expect, he had 2 of their 5 goals. Pickert had an assist. Mitchell Huddle had a goal and 2 assists. Dane Dinovich had a goal. So they spread it around a little bit. But Brady Welsh was obviously the fastest player on the ice, except possibly Noah Pickert. Those 2 guys are just insanely fast.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, to say that, Pickert had an assist is kind of doing him a disservice. I mean, he skated the puck down in around the defenseman, cut across in front of the net, and he was stopped by the goaltender, but the puck was lying there on the edge of the crease, and Mitchell Hoodle came in and poked it in. There's a little more. I guess. Yeah, I don't know if you can get a plus.
He
assist.
he was -1 on the game because
Oh.
his assist did come on one of those 5-on-3s.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't get a plus for that. So he was -1 on the game. Take that.
But I've seen Northland Pines play a couple of times this year, and I'm familiar with their power play, and the fact that they were shut out on the power play had a lot to do with Fond du Lac Springs perhaps also seeing their power play and cutting off the passing lanes. Pines likes to hit that guy in the one-timer position on either face-off circle. They have a guy set up on either side. It's number 10 on one side, and I forget who it is on the other side. But they're there waiting for those one-timers, and Fond du Lac Springs was just deflecting all those. They were breaking up all those passes that were going across there. Pines never got a chance to really, work the power play that they wanted to do because Springs did a real nice job of cutting off all of the passing lanes.
And
if you just look at the score sheet, like the first period of this game is hilarious to me because Springs led in shots 15-3, but that's not really what happened that period. What happened that period is Springs buried 12 shots in Brett Wilkins' breadbasket, and had 3 shots where he actually had to make a save, and Pines sailed a dozen shots 2 feet over the net. So the shots in that period were probably 15-13 or something, but Pines couldn't.
Shots toward the net.
Toward the net was a lot closer. Pines just shot after shot after shot sailing over the net, and Springs shot after shot after shot right into Brett Wilkins' belly. It was kind of a funny period.
Well, to give Brett Wilkins some credit, goalies work very hard to make sure that shot ends up in their breadbasket.
Yes.
That is by following the puck and positioning themselves for the shot. That is what they want. So when that happens, it's not always, Springs shooting there. It's the goalie positioning himself so the puck hits him there.
No, and Wilkins had a great game. He had 32 saves. Springs had a 37-18 shot advantage. A lot of that had to do with the power plays and stuff. But Wilkins was not the winning goalie, but he played a good game. He was, did a nice job. He's a senior. It was his last game. Nothing to be ashamed about. Springs and Northland Pines 1 and 2 on the year for the most part all the way through. Well, actually all the way. So it was actually a really good championship game. The disparity in the score has a lot to do with the penalties and stuff. But we're not blaming the refs. It is what it is. And,
so we're not saying the refs, stole the game from Northland Pines. It's just the score may not have been quite that. The score doesn't really indicate the level of performance of the two teams.
Yeah, you take away those 2 5-on-3s and it's 3-1. So that's probably more indicative of how the game really went.
Yeah, those two 5-on-3 goals. We didn't have an even strength goal until 13-13 of the second period. So more than half the game had elapsed by the time there was an even strength goal. Let me ask you this, Burglar. If officials generally work in pairs throughout the season, or a small group that work together, why don't they get scheduled that way for the tournament?
Well,
is it just they don't want because they pre-schedule everybody?
Do they by grades maybe? By grades.
All officials are graded. Well, if the coaches turn them in before every game, the officials the officials give the coaches each.
A card,
a grading card, and the coaches grade them on. I wouldn't hire this guy to do a mite game. To all the way up to this guy can do the championship game in the state tournament, and they're graded on that. And I don't know how often you know, two guys who are doing a game together. I don't know how often a coach says, well, yeah, this guy was really good, but his partner really sucked. I don't know what criteria they use. It's usually the same guys, but pairing them up, I mean, guys that work together, it makes it easier on the referee to know what the other guy is thinking.
Because obviously, if these refs were reffing the championship game, they were. The coaches turned in their comment cards, and these were the two top refs of the season. I mean, ostensibly.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they work together. And
Right.
The comment from before is, does that come into play? And I think it does. And it sounds like you guys agree with that.
I would just think that if refs normally work in pairs, they should probably stay that way throughout the tournament. They should be graded as a team rather than individually.
Yeah, that's something maybe somebody should send into the WIA as a suggestion that might make for better games. I mean, I think it probably would make for better games.
All right, moving on.
Game, the Fox City Stars and the Madison Metro Lynx, and the Fox City Stars win this game 5-3. And guys, the Fox Stars go back to back. Is anybody?
Well, I briefly talked to Coach Chris McGurk while the D2 game was going on. He stopped up in our suite because he makes a point of being nowhere near the locker room when the girls are getting dressed, as any male coach has to do in girls hockey. So yeah, he was up in the booth. He's talking to me, and he's like, "This is the first game we've had at state where we were the underdog." And I'm like, "Are you really the underdog?" Like, they're the number one seed. They beat us 2-0 earlier in the season, and they have like 12 Team Wisconsin players on their team between U16 and U14 and whatever. So I guess, he envisioned them as the underdog. I didn't see it that way, and I didn't look to me at any point like they were the underdog on the ice. I thought they played a phenomenal game. It didn't seem to matter which line was on the ice for the Stars. They hung with the Lynx regardless of which line of theirs was on the ice. I think it was a really nice game for the Stars.
Did he show you the bruise?
No.
Did he say where he got hit?
Right in the middle of the back.
Right in the middle of the back.
Yeah,
we declared a moratorium on Friday night of Chris McGurk bashing because he was reffing one of the semifinal games for Division I, and the puck was on the other end of the ice. Team was killing a penalty, and Chris was over in the corner, and the guy behind the net decided he would just wind up and fire a slap shot around the corner and see if he could ice the puck. And it hit Chris, right in the middle of the back, and down he went. And Bob was down in the opposite corner, or right across the ice. That's where you normally, if a referee falls, that's where you want to, take a picture of him. But even Bob, saw that, he got nailed in the back on that. I'm not going to take a picture of this.
And Chris even said, he's like, I gave him the boards, but he didn't look up right in the back.
Yeah, and
it looked painful.
it was. He got knocked down, and it was like he started crawling, and I'm like, oh, that can't be good. So I'm sure there'll be a nice. My comment right after the penalty was, I think he's going to be peeing blood because that would probably hit him right in the kidney.
Later on in the game, the linesman got nailed on a icing attempt. Also, he went down. I didn't take a picture of him. I probably should have taken a picture of Ryan Schroeder because he fell on his own, and he actually announced that he was falling. I could hear him. I don't know. Yeah, he yelled out something, and then down he went. And that was good, but the other two guys both got nailed, so it was a rough game on the officials. So we didn't pick on Chris at all.
Yeah.
Friday night.
So maybe we lobby for them skating in suits of armor, maybe? Help to protect them a little bit? Knights of the Rink. I like it.
I think next year they're just going to have more backup officials standing by.
Yeah, or like wear those flak jackets that the NFL quarterbacks wear.
Mm-hmm. But back to this game.
Back to the game.
Sorry.
To the game. The end of the shots ended up being 38-18 in the game in favor of Fox Cities. A portion of that has to do with the fact that the Lynx took 4 straight penalties in the second period. They only took 5 for the game, but they took 4 in the span of about 7 minutes in the second period, leading to 2 Fox Cities power play goals, which really helped them pull ahead. It was 2-1 going into that, and then after that stretch, it was 4-1, which is a lot harder to come back from. But then the Lynx did fight back. Lauren Johnson and Mia Gotzi both scored to make it 4-3, and then Annika Horman got the last one with 9:27 into the third period to put them up 5-3, and that's where it hung out.
Well, I've seen the Lynx play a couple times this season also, and they have Sydney Wraiths on offense, who's very good, but I think the strength of their team after that is with their defense, particularly Lauren Johnson and Grace Bunnell. They are, shutdown defenders, and have very good offensive skills as well. They were each involved in some of the scoring, and the first goal of the game, I was actually watching as, Bunnell and Johnson skated to the bench, and I don't know whether there was confusion on the bench, but it took several seconds for their replacements to hop out on the ice, and by the time they did that, they could not catch up and cut off Maddie Jablonski, who was skating down the far side of the ice. They tried getting over there and they didn't, and she managed to get down around and in front of the net and scored that first goal just on a bad defensive change.
Notre Dame had some, and we'll get to the D1 game in a minute, but Notre Dame also had a couple of bad line changes in their game, including getting whistled for too many dudes on the ice.
And a couple things that I would like to mention is the aforementioned Lauren Johnson and Grace Bunnell. They're both freshmen, Burglar.
What?
But yes, pretty impressive for freshmen defenders.
I had no idea. I didn't look at their actual roster.
No, they are. So but both of them, they played awesome this tournament, and looking forward to a great future for them. But my biggest question would be for Mike McCursey. And you know where I'm going with this?
I know exactly where you're going. We were all kind of surprised. Start of the second period.
Yes.
He's a big guy, so he can handle big questions.
Well, I know, and I'll go easy on him because I like him. Curse is a great guy. His daughter, Cameron, played in the first period. 3 saves, 2 goals allowed. When they came out for the second period, Addie Armstrong was in net. So my question would be, how did the conversation go at the McCursey dinner table Saturday night? But here's one for Cameron. She got her redemption because her TW U16 team won the state this weekend, moved on to Central Districts. They were playing Fond du Lac this coming weekend for a chance to go to Natties. So, Cameron, felt bad for you that first period. You kind of got it happens. I'm a goalie dad. I know, and Burglar is too. You can have a bad period and stuff happens, and sometimes the coach just changes things up to change things up. But you got your redemption, and best of luck to you at Centrals, and hoping that you can make it to Nationals. That's it.
Yeah, I kind of expected that Cam was going to start the game, given that he's been alternating lately, and she did play more minutes than Addie Armstrong in the regular season. They pretty much alternated towards the end of the season, but she did end up with 2 games worth maybe 3 games worth extra minutes over what Addie had, and their numbers were comparable, so it's not like one of them had a huge advantage over the other. One of those 2 goals, I think Cam will tell you she probably should have had. The other one, I don't think there was much she could have done about it. So that's tough. But, we've seen goalies changed. Fox Cities had to change goalies in the championship game last year.
Yeah. And a plus side and upside for the Metro Lynx, Cam McCursey is a sophomore, Addie Armstrong is a freshman. So for the next 3 years, that's going to be a pretty strong core of netminders.
Yeah, is like Sydney Wraith
strong the next couple of years.
Is Sydney Wraith like the only senior on the team? Like, everybody's like a freshman and a sophomore.
I think there was like 4 or 5 seniors. So yeah, you're going to have some losses, but as I wrote in a piece on Wisconsin Prep Hockey yesterday, I think girls hockey is in good hands. There's a lot of young kids, dominated basically the all tournament team, freshmen and sophomores. So there's a lot of really talented players coming up, and for a variety of reasons, Metro Lynx, I think, is going to be pretty stout. So they got nothing to be ashamed of. They did a great job, and they just happened to fall to a very talented Fox Cities team.
Well, freshmen and sophomores dominated the all tournament team, except for gray-haired old lady Maddie Jablonski.
Right. Yeah, who won everything?
The awards hog?
Yeah. Well, Maddie, come on, Maddie. You should share with some of these other girls. Come on. No, she had a great season and a great career. Not much more we can say than that. She was an awesome player, and the Stars and Jeff Fox and McGurk definitely going to miss her.
Yep, and now moving on to D1, the game of controversy.
Game of controversy.
Well, if this was a regular season game, Verona would have won it 3-1. Because there would not have been replay review, the calls on the ice would have stood, and their 2 goals, aided by goaltender interference, would have stood. 3-1 win, no overtime. Instead, they had 2 goals go to replay review, and in each case, the refs waved them off. The first one was a player just kind of all up in goaltender Bo Buckley's grill. They waved that one off. All the officials I reached out to agreed with the call. The second one, I watched the replay on TV several times from the regular camera angle, and I could not see it. It looked like Buckley took a weird lunge at the puck and just a bad save attempt, which would be very out of character for him. But then they switched to a top-down view, which I didn't know they had. And you could see that when, the shooter, what's his name? Walker Hasig was coming down the left side, and Leo Renlund was streaking through the center. When he got towards the net, obviously you can't just plow into the goalie, so he peels off to the right, and his skate is out, and he clipped Buckley's skate, and that's what knocked Buckley's leg back and made it look like he was taking a weird lunge. From the regular camera angle, you could not see that at all. But from the overhead angle, it was really, really obvious. I don't think it was intentional or anything like that, but yeah, he clipped the goalie, so they have 2 goals disallowed to send it into, extra innings, as I like to say.
Yeah, I didn't see. I watched. Yeah, you showed me the replay of the first one, and I was taking pictures. I was right above the Notre Dame net, and I didn't see it on the first one, but the goal on the first one was high glove side, and the player that came in, right in Buckley, he was on that side. Basically, he prevented Buckley from getting his glove up, is what he did. I don't know if he didn't like make significant contact, but he was right up against him and prevented him from getting the glove up to make that save. And then on the other one, Yeah, I mean, I saw the shot, I saw the goal, and I looked down and said, what the heck is Buckley doing face first on the ice? Did he just guess and lunge at that puck? That's kind of out of character. And then again, you showed me the replay, and it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the first one maybe could have gone either way, but the second one, the skate definitely knocked the skate of Buckley off, and like Bill said, regular season game, this is a 3-1 Verona win. So, yeah, maybe a little controversy, but I think when it came right down to it, the officials got it right with the reviews.
I think that's the most important thing. The first two periods, Notre Dame really took it to Verona. Through the first two periods, they outshot them 23-8. And this wasn't like a Pine Springs situation where Pines kept sailing them over the net. I mean, it was like Notre Dame really took it to them for those first two periods. And then the third period, it was all Verona. I don't know if they just got fired up, but yeah, they really kind of dominated that third period. Finally cracked it with 3:01 into the period, and then sent it to overtime, and they won it with just a minute and 43 left on the clock in that first 8-minute overtime.
And that was an interesting. Well, go ahead.
I thought that third period, Verona looked like the stronger team. They started taking it to them. I agree with the first two periods. Yeah, it was Notre Dame, but it seemed like Verona was able to get out in that open space. Once they got into the neutral zone, they were able to do some things to Notre Dame defensively, and were able to get some looks. Third period, they were a lot stronger. Remember, they played a double overtime game the day before, and they still had plenty of gas in the tank.
Well, hockey is an emotional game, and we've all seen games where you just can't understand why a team looks flat. And the thing we talked about in our pre-game analysis, our Friday night podcast, was how Notre Dame plays the same game. Period after period, regardless of the situation, they play the same game. Well, Verona changed their game. I think Verona got pissed off. Those two goals that weren't allowed, I think they got pissed off. And they were playing with a little bit of an extra edge and a little bit of an extra attitude. And I think that's what really got things going for them in that third period. They were pissed off.
Well, I can't say for sure about Notre Dame or Verona, the team, but I can tell you that Joel Marshall was a little bit irritated. You could tell by his body language on the bench, but rightfully so. I mean, like Bill Jr. said, normally those goals count, and all of a sudden they don't count. It's like the same thing, but I understand why they do it at state tournament, and I think it's a good idea to make sure that they get it right. But yes, Burglar, you are absolutely correct. I think Verona was pissed off, and it showed in the last few minutes of the game.
I have to mark about the final
the
final goal.
Going to let it all hang out.
Or the final goal that was scored too. I thought it was interesting. I mean, puck was down in the Notre Dame end. Buckley, Verona is making a defensive change, and Buckley sees that he has a guy, all alone on the far blue line, and he tries to send him the puck. And he got it up in the air, to send it down there, but Leo Renlund, just inside the Notre Dame blue line, jumps up, catches the puck and knocks it down, and comes in and takes a shot before Buckley has a chance to really set himself again after making that pass. Just a quick turnaround bang bang play. Kind of a weird way to end a game, but interesting.
And I talked about that in my story too, is that Leo had, from what we saw in video, interfered with the second goal that had been reviewed, number 21. It was his left skate that hit into the left skate of Bo Buckley, causing the review and causing the negation of the goal. But yeah, I mean, the play that he made on the other end, Buckley made a nice pass, and 9 times out of 10, he hits that pass, and the guy is wide open for a breakaway. This time, Leo Renlund jumped up, a great athletic move, knocked the puck down, and got it settled and let her rip, and it beat Buckley. I mean, it was an amazing play, and, so Verona wins 2-1.
Okay, I just want to add one thing. I mean, Leo Renlund, hit the skate that caused the goaltender interference that negated the goal. It was the hitting the skate and the goaltender interference that made the goal happen in the first place. Okay? So, yeah, like if he doesn't hit that skate, that doesn't mean the goal doesn't get wiped out. That means the goal doesn't happen. That's the only reason the goal happened. So, yeah, the fact that they also got negated, that's a wash.
It's kind of the same but different, right? Okay, we're good on that. In the game, though, Notre Dame ended out outshooting the Verona Wildcats 31-20, but the Wildcats get the 2-1 victory. And Burglar, I think the 2 games that Verona played, previous day Chippewa Falls Verona, and then this game on this day, the Verona against Notre Dame, were probably 2 of the best games of the tournament. Would you agree on that?
Well, and I know that we're, the 4-team thing, eliminates a game from the tournament, but Verona just won the state tournament while only scoring 3 goals. I mean, I know they only played 2 games instead of 3, but yeah, they only scored 3 goals to win the state tournament. That's pretty impressive. That says a lot about what Caden Grant did and what their defense did.
Maybe that was the difference in the championship game.
Maybe that's why Caden Grant was our tournament MVP.
That's what the difference was in the championship game. Caden Grant outplayed Bo Buckley.
I don't necessarily think that's true, but you're entitled to your opinion.
Caden Grant also outplayed the other goalie for Chippewa Falls. That goalie for Chippewa Falls on Friday night was amazing.
Well, he outplayed him, but not by much. I mean, basically the difference was he gave up 1 more goal than Grant did. But Bridger Fixmer, I mean, he was advertised coming into the game as a great netminder, and the kid is only a sophomore. He did not play like a sophomore. I mean, sophomores are supposed to be like shitting the bed. He did not. He played awesome. He had, I think, 37 saves of 38 or 38 of 39. He gave up 1 goal. That, I mean, in my mind, that this is one of the best games ever in the history of the tournament.
I don't know that he got outplayed. I was standing right above the net when that goal was scored. He stopped the shot. He stopped the first rebound with his blocker. He flung his leg out there and stopped the second rebound with his pad. And that puck got knocked up in the air, and the guy batted the puck out of mid-air into the net. And Grant had, or Fixer had nothing left to throw at it. I'm not going to admit that anybody outplayed him in that game, other than the swarm of Verona Wildcats who were all over him in that overtime.
Yeah, I take umbrage. I mean, Grant deserved the tournament MVP, but I don't think he outplayed either of the goalies that he played against. He won those games, but I don't think it's because he outplayed them. Nobody gave up a softie. If somebody had given up a soft goal, then yes, he outplayed them. Nobody gave up a soft goal. Every one of those goals was full on legit. So, I don't think he outplayed them. I think he did everything he had to do for Verona to win.
Well, I think you had three very good goalies in that tournament. You had Caden Grant, Verona. You had Bridger Fixmer, Chippewa Falls. You had Bo Buckley, Notre Dame. And, those were the 3 that the spotlight was on. They all played great. Nothing against any of them. You score a goal here, you score a score a goal there, whatever. But they all played great. So yeah, I mean, to say that we're all played is probably a misstatement, but some good net mining in the D1 tournament.
Well, they were 3 of our 5 Davensvek finalists.
So we got that right. Or the coaches did.
Well, I think the WHCA had as much to do with that as we did.
Caden Grant in that championship game through the first 2 periods, honestly, guys, when you look at it, what'd you say the shots were? 23-8 through 2 periods?
Yes.
And Notre Dame had scored 1 goal?
Yes.
I mean, he kept his team in that game, gave him a chance to win.
Yes. Nobody is disputing that.
Which he did.
Nope, I think that's a valid statement.
I guess what I'm saying is it was a very impressive performance by him.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Right. It's just what you're saying is that this goalie outplayed that goalie because his team won. It's kind of like the thing they do in football, where Brady versus Manning, in these NFL where Brady and Manning are never on the ice at the same time. They're not competing against the same group of guys. Or a pitcher's duel, where Maddox outduels, some other pitcher. They're not really battling against the other pitcher, well, especially in the American League. They're not battling against the other pitcher. They're battling against the other team's offense. It wasn't Buckley against Grant. It was Buckley against the Verona offense and Grant against the Notre Dame offense. They're facing 2 different opponents. You can't really compare them head to head.
Did anybody see the black cat go across the screen?
I did. Now we have 7 years of bad luck.
Well, he'd like to say hi to y'all. So I'll put Hudson in here. Hudson, say hi to everybody. Hey, how's it going? All right, now get out of here. Anyway, so great stuff, guys.
I'm looking here at the Verona roster, and this is pretty amazing. Cale Rufnik is a senior. Drew Yeager, a senior. Keegan Lundell, a senior. Derek Isaacson, a senior. And who's the last one here? Parker Plock, a senior. And Ryan Ritter, a senior. All the rest of them are underclassmen yet. I mean, you're talking Nate Jurens has another year to come back. Walker Hasig has a year to come back. Leo Renland. What I'm saying is also Caden Grant. This team could repeat.
They could. It's very hard to do, but they could.
Well, we saw it on the girls' side, but it seems to be a little bit tougher on the boys' side, especially now that we got the D1 thing going, or maybe not. I don't know, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of repeat state champions, especially since the.
Well, you tell us, MJ. First of all, is there anybody down there in your neck of the woods that will challenge them for that sectional? Will they get to the state? Is there anybody to challenge? Is there anybody down there to keep them from getting to the state tournament? Because that's the first step.
Well, I'll tell you what, in the Big 8 conference, I don't think so. But when you look at it, it just seems like Edgewood always finds a way to get to that sectional final. And this year they lost it in the third period. So
if I remember correctly,
with a very young roster.
I was gonna say, if I remember correctly, Edgewood doesn't have a whole lot of seniors either.
So it's possible those two.
It'll come down between Verona and Edgewood next year.
On paper, it looks like that. Yes.
Oh no! We play the game on ice. Not
as long as they keep the sectionals the same, how the WIAs want to change things around a little bit.
Well, not that drastically.
Well, you never know.
And you look at, and you even look at how many of these kids stay with the team. Do they move on?
No, we don't go there, MJ. You're the only one who goes there, and we discourage you from doing that.
There's speculation, but
possibility.
Yeah,
well,
we don't.
there is, but
We want them all to stay with their high school teams.
Yes, we don't encourage it. We don't talk about it. Not our thing.
we don't want it to happen.
Well, I mean, that's between the kids and their families, but
Well,
as far
it
as
is.
Wisconsin prep hockey is concerned, we cover prep hockey.
Yeah, we want them all to play at the high school level.
And the fact that they're juniors this year means they're seniors next year, as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, we want to watch them play as seniors.
10-4.
Okay.
We want them all to be seniors with Gunnar Schiffman style beards.
Fifth year senior.
Fifth year seniors, yes, indeed.
Even the ones that can't really grow a beard, we want them to try. The playoff beard needs to be a thing.
Well, guys,
remember Dieter from Fond du Lac? We want to see what he looks like next year.
Yeah, but
He was just a junior, and his was going this year. Oh,
So we had, how the Minnesota high school state tournament has the all flow team.
yeah.
We had one guy that was giving it his all during the state tournament here in Madison. Can anybody tell me the name of that player?
Oh, I saw him flip his hair when he went up for the camera shot, but I don't know who it was.
Was his name his number 13 on Notre Dame?
I
have no idea.
don't know.
Brendan Poshak?
Oh yeah, he gave a nice hair flip for the camera.
I think he wins our award for.
We don't have an award for that.
If we had an
We don't.
award, he would.
We are not a copycat.
should, though.
We are not
No.
a copycat group.
Well, we could do it-
We don't
No.
copycat other people's awards things. No. We don't. We're not a copycat group.
Poshak, you won our award if we had one,
didn't
but we
have
don't.
one.
So tough shit. All right.
No,
go
if we
on.
have an
Let's
award,
move
it's
on.
going to be the all beard team.
There
Oh,
you go.
Okay,
there
that's-
you go.
Because that's more impressive. Anybody can grow
Any-
flow if they try hard
yeah.
enough. Not everybody can grow
Not
I
a
every
beard.
can't.
high,
I
not
don't
every
have
high
flow.
school not every
Burglar?
high schooler can grow a beard. Bill can't grow a beard yet.
Burglar can't grow flow.
I could grow a
Yeah,
beard
but
though.
he's
Well,
in
yeah.
high school.
I
Well,
I could grow a
70
gnarly
years
beard.
ago. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move on to the
All
all
right.
tournament teams.
Now, here's the question for you now.
We're
Now
all
that the
tournament
state
teams.
tournament, well, yeah, but let me ask you this before we go to that. We've had one state tournament with two divisions. Did it work this year?
I guess it
Well,
depends
I mean-
on who you ask and what their criteria is. I think it was.
It was okay.
I think there was there. I honestly, I think there was more energy in the building than there has been in years past.
Well,
whether that's just due to Pines bringing half the city down. Rice Lake had a good crowd. Verona had a great crowd. Chippewa Falls had a great crowd. Somerset Somerset is 30 people and a couple of cows, and they had a good crowd. So
I mean, 25
I think-
of those 30 people were there.
Send
Yeah.
your hate mail to Webb Jr. at WisconsinPrepHockey.net.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only person on this call who's covered a game at Somerset, so
Yeah, that's
I get a pass.
All
I
right,
think there was,
all right.
there
So
was
you're the only person on this call who knows where Somerset is.
yes.
it's somewhere
29.
over there.
You take 29 to 94, and then you just start buying vowels. You just start buying vowels on the county roads. But I think there was good energy in the arena this year. I would have liked to see another session. We've had 5 sessions in the past, 2 each day, and then one the last day. That missing session stood out like a sore thumb. It meant that the coaches associations, the boys banquet was on Friday, and Trasher, correct me if I'm wrong, only the 4 teams that won were there.
That is correct.
Instead of all 8, I don't like that at all.
I don't either.
I don't like that at all. So there's things that could be improved upon, but no, I think there was good energy. I think the D2 teams brought a lot of great energy to the tournament with them, and the condensed. I'd rather see 8, but the condensed 4-team D1 I think made for better games. We didn't have any first round D1 blowouts. That's not to say we're not going to see them in the future. I mentioned this several times the last week. But 2 years ago in a seeded state tournament, Hudson beat Eau Claire Memorial 7-1 in the championship game. I mean, so we can still have blowouts, but I think the condensed tournament actually made for some good hockey games.
Well, and we'll go with the biggest controversy, I think, of the schedule was, why are the Friday games in the morning? When like working people, aren't going to get there. And the WIA's reasoning for the high school game or the Friday games being in the morning was the students will come to the game if they can get out of school and hop on a bus, pay your $10, hop on a bus, go to the game, get out of school, they'll do it. And the first game was, Notre Dame versus University School, two private schools, you small student population. You don't have the city support you do for like a Rice Lake or Verona, where you've got your town represented. So those, each of those schools was represented well. A lot of their students came, but didn't fill it. But the second game, Verona and Rice Lake, the place was rocking.
Chippewa Falls.
Whatever. Yeah. Chippewa. Rice Lake was in the Division II. Rice Lake, yeah, Chippewa Falls and Verona. That place was rocking. And kudos to Pat McDonald and the Wisconsin Hockey Coaches Association. The old Coliseum seats 10,000 people, and they, so it always seems somewhat empty. But they had put
the black curtains
curtains down to block off. It was on one side it was the top 6 rows, on the other side it was the top 9 rows. So they probably blocked off between 2,000 and 3,000 seats way up on the top, which kind of forced everybody else down low. And for that semifinal game between Chippewa Falls and Verona, the place was pretty packed and pretty raucous. And despite what all them, people who like, lots of goals scored, for a 1-0 game, that was pretty damned exciting.
Well, I had mentioned this before, that I thought that Chippewa Falls Verona game was probably one of the most exciting special games in the history of the WIAA state tournament, because, let's face it, you were up there taking pictures, and or maybe you weren't that game. I don't remember. I think you were, but
I'm pretty sure he was up there watching.
I was watching while I was supposed to be taking pictures, getting caught up in the flow of the game.
Yeah, and that's it exactly, though, Burglar.
Watching
it was crazy.
Watching Bridger Fixmer and Caden Grant, rolling around in the net, throwing whatever they had, on rebounds,
Dominic Hasek,
slinking
right?
for a spine, just whatever you had, just throw it. Your gloves up there, your legs up there, your stick, whatever, just throw it up there and hope it stops the puck. And for the most part, they did.
Oh, they absolutely did.
At the start of that game, Chippewa Falls was doing, every city's got their "We Are" chant, "We Are the Mighty." The "We Are" I heard on the Chippewa Falls nearly knocked me over in the suite. I haven't heard a fan base that loud on their "We Are" chant at the start of the game in a long, long time.
Well, it's been 20 years since they've been there, so they wanted to party like it was 1999, like you told me, Junior, that yes. I should have had in my article or in my headline for that game, but you nailed it pretty much.
And if they won, I would have pushed really hard and then thought better of it, having Leinenkugels for everybody as the headline. But we do not condone underage drinking at Wisconsin Prep Hockey, so I would have thought better of it in the end.
All right, I just got a text from MJ saying his Wi-Fi is down. Yeah, so you know about that. So we're gonna have to run without him the rest of the day. But it was some great hockey. It's not like the D2 semifinal games were kind of blowouts, but we talked about that before. But I think everything else was pretty much a decent game.
Well, yeah, like Northland Pines coach
Dave Cox.
Dave Cox said during his interview with NJ, next year Northland Pines will be more of a D2 type team than what they were this year.
There you go.
Fortunately or unfortunately, Fond du Lac Springs probably won't be a traditional D2 team. They're going to be I think they're going to be as strong next year as they were this year. Which leads us to our awards, tournament awards. How's that for a segue? Without NJ
It's a great
here.
segue. Yeah, great. I like it.
All right, our D2 co-MVPs, Brady Welsh and Noah Pickert. First team forward, Brady Welsh of Springs, Mitchell Huddle of Springs, and Harmon Marine of Northland Pines. I believe he was called by about 15 different names by the PA over the course of the tournament.
But we go with the official Chris Oatman pronunciation of Harmon Marine, because who would know better than the voice of Northland Pines hockey?
Yes, my personal favorite was Hudson Marion. That was my personal favorite. Defense, first team, Noah Pickert of Springs and Riley McGee of Northland Pines. And first team goalie was Hayden Rising of Springs. Second team, Brady Snedden and Gunnar Schiffman of Pines were forwards. Dane Dinovich from Springs was the other forward. Defense was Connor McLaughlin of St. Mary's Springs and Bodie Smith of Somerset. And then the second team goalie was Brett Wilkins of Northland Pines.
And not surprising that, Springs and Pines dominated this. I mean, they were the two teams that won. They won by large margins. They had the deepest and most talent of the D2 teams.
I had Cole Fensky of Rice Lake and Antonio Gomez of Somerset both on my ballot, but they did not get enough votes to make the whole team.
Yes,
I blame the media.
Yeah, well, I had Bodie Smith because I thought he was a pretty good player, and Antonio Gomez as well, but they fell just a little bit short. But Bodie Smith definitely made the second team. So, and I mean, the thing about all tournament teams at a state tournament is that usually the two teams that are in the championship game kind of get noticed more than everybody else, and
because they play twice as many games.
Because
yeah, probably, unless one guy stands out, and Bodie stood out, and I think Antonio Gomez stood out too, but they just fell a little bit short. But kudos to them.
Losing the quarterfinals it's going to have an impact on the all tournament team going forward, I think. Because at least, in the past 4 teams would have gotten a second game and then 2 would have gotten a third game. Now it's just 2 teams with that second game. So it's going to make it harder on voters for the all-tournament team.
Alrighty. We probably had a all-tournament team for the girls too, didn't we?
We did. Forwards for the girls, Maddie Jablonski and Annika Horman of Fox Cities. Rachel Meerwald of the Metro Lynx was the third forward. Defense, Grace Bonnell of the Metro Lynx and Gwen Gillard of Fox Cities, and goalie Addie Armstrong from the Metro Lynx was the first team goalie. The MVP was Maddie Jablonski of Fox Cities. The awards hog. Second team, Sydney Wraiths of the Metro Lynx. Alyssa Knopf of Rock County, Leah Parker of Hudson, and we had 4 forwards on the second team, Michaela Zilish of Fox Cities. Defense, Lauren Johnson of the Metro Lynx, Hannah Hiltonen of Fox Cities, and goalie Ellis Gaborski of Fox Cities.
So I wasn't alone in my thinking that the defensive pairing of Grace Bonnell and Lauren Johnson are a dynamic defensive duo.
No, and I was glad Leah Parker made the list. She was on my ballot. We noticed her.
Oh, number 9.
Yes, we noticed her in part because of her play last year. Last year she was a freshman. This year she's just a sophomore. In part because of her play, and the other part was just because of how she went over the boards getting back into the player bench. She kind of had to stop and put both her hands on the boards and lift because she's small. But yeah, she really stood out for Hudson in that game. I thought she was actually kind of quiet in the sectional final against Eau Claire area, but she really stood out in their game against the Fox City Stars in that first round.
Well, Junior, she also was an all-team member last year as a freshman.
Yep.
So, I mean, Leah Parker is somebody that's going to be a great player. She might be short in stature, but she's pretty long in talent. So, and I had mentioned earlier that Grace Bunnell was a freshman, but now I see that she is listed in here as a sophomore. So I don't know if
you wrote it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if the team, the roster was right or wrong or whatever. But either way, Grace Bunnell for the Metro Lynx, a great player. So they got a good future in front of them. But kudos to all these girls on this all-tournament team. Maddie Jablonski has had a great career. She had a great year as a senior, and best wishes to her going forward.
Yep, and then on to D1, where Caden Grant was our MVP, stopping 60 of 61 shots. Based on the math here, if Chippewa Falls took one more shot, that game might still be going on. Because he stopped 30 of 31 against Notre Dame, 30 of 30 against Chippewa Falls, just one more shot, and they might have cracked him. But the first team forwards for D1 are Brendan Poshak of Notre Dame, Noah Iqbali of University School, and Walker Hasig of Verona, despite the fact he had 2 goals disallowed. Defense, Nathan Jurens of Verona and Jacob Conrad of Notre Dame, and then goalie Caden Grant of Verona. Second team forwards, Tyler Herzberg of University School, Kale Rufenacht of Verona, and Leo Renland of Verona. Defense, Corbin Skinner of Notre Dame, Reed Milton of Notre Dame, and Alex Thundercloud of University School, and then the second team goalie was Bridger Fixmer of Chippewa Falls.
I think there's a lot of talent in this group for sure. Hasig, if he had scored those 2 goals, if they had actually been allowed, he might have been the MVP of the tournament. Hard to say, but you look at the names, a lot of great talent, a lot of great play, and well-deserving honors for all of these guys.
Well, no, again, it's a lot of guys who are up for the when I say they were up for the end of season awards, it means these are guys who did it all season long. Herzberg was up for the Pavelski Award. There are 2 defensemen, Thundercloud and Jurens, both up for the Drewiski Award. Both of the goalies were, these guys have been doing it all year long, and in big games you need your big players to come up big. That's kind of a big league thing. So they did, and it was a great state tournament in that regard.
That it was. All right, shall we move on, boys?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's going on?
With that
what's
all
going on
behind
for
us,
the rest of the year? What are we going to do the next couple months?
The senior class tournament.
All right, yeah. First, we have to complain about the WIAA again because, despite the fact that Tom Stefanski's both of our best friends, apparently the February 29th, which only happens every 4 years, but falling on a Saturday, just kind of threw off the whole scheduling thing for the WIAA because everybody else is like a week ahead of us. The Tier 1 tournaments, which are normally the Team Wisconsin stuff, which is normally the week after the high school state tournament, also happened this past weekend. The senior class tournament, which is normally 2 weeks after the state tournament, is next week. The Minnesota State High School Tournament, which is always the week after the Wisconsin High School Tournament, was this past weekend. The Wisconsin High School Hockey Tournament was supposed to have been last weekend. And then everything would be on its normal schedule. But it wasn't. It was just this past weekend, and now the senior class tournament is next weekend. And we're all wiped out and not really sure if we got anybody able to cover that who can recover by then. Because we're like old and feeble and tired and stuff.
Well, we're not all that old and feeble and tired, so we'll, amongst our group, we will try to make it over to the senior class tournament this weekend, and we'll see what we can do. It's a great tournament. We've tried to make it over there for many years. We're old. Come on, right, Burglar?
Well,
Are we
still,
old?
I mean,
Have you made it to 60 yet?
a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be 60 on Monday. So if anybody wants to send me a birthday present, send it to me. I'll be 60. We're old, and we try to do the best that we can, and we'd love to. Like I told Burglar, I said if I was 25 years old and single, I would be over to the senior class tournament covering it from Friday first game through Sunday last game. But I mean, ancient.
And occasionally you would make it out of the beer tent to actually see part of a game.
Yeah, exactly. We're ancient now, so it makes it a little bit tougher. But we will do our best. We love the state or the senior class tournament. There's a lot of great players there playing probably what might be their last games of their high school career. And it's actually an awesome experience. So we'll definitely try to make it over there, and we'll see what we can do.
And then after that, what do we got coming up? There's, actually at the same time next weekend is isn't that the
Central Districts in Fond du Lac.
Yeah, that.
The girl, I have not looked at what the boys have done, but as of yesterday, the TW U16 and U19 girls both have won their state finals and are playing at the Central District, and that'll be at the Fond du Lac Blue Line Ice Center this weekend. Still have to check on what the boys have done.
I think that the TW boys U18 also won.
Okay. So
maybe even the 16.
Yeah. So yeah, I looked as of like 8 or 9 o'clock last night, and that was kind of it. And after that, I was like, time to crash. But so we'll do what we can do to cover that. And then there's a few more tournaments in the next probably 5-6 weeks that we are going to take a look at too. Because I don't have it written down in front of me, maybe one of you guys do. We can talk about the stuff that we got going on.
Oh, there's a girls. There are two There's a girls tournament, a boys tournament. The Minnesota NIT tournaments that are coming up in late April. Trasher will probably be attending the girls NIT, and MJ will probably be attending the boys NIT, which is like the last weekend in April, first weekend in May type of thing.
And if we could get some sponsored dollars to help us cover these tournaments, because we really don't get much money after the state tournament, and basically all of this stuff comes out of our pocket. So if anybody around there that is hearing this podcast says, hey, I'd be willing to help out with that, please get in contact with us. WIPH 3.0 at gmail.com would be the way to get in touch with us. And, we try to do the best we can, but obviously a lot of this comes out of our pocket. So, it is what it is, right? We'll do what we can to an extent, but beyond that, it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to take a huge loss in this.
Well, we get enough ad revenue off our site to cover our state tournament expenses, but once the state tournament ends, traffic on our website kind of drops down to like
zero.
Well, not zero, but because there are still people who are interested in the senior class tournament and the Team Wisconsin and the other stuff like that. But not zero, but it drops from like 100 down to 10.
Yeah, maybe 0.5.
All right. Well, I think after that we're gonna wrap it up because about 5 minutes ago Trasher started slurring his words, and I'm worried that he had a stroke.
Why, man?
So unless you guys have anything else to say,
were you drinking a glass of stroke?
he's not going to answer that question.
No, I do not think I was drinking a glass of stroke. I might have been drinking a glass of earthquake.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can subscribe to This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever else podcasts are found. And you can watch us record the show live on YouTube. And as Burglar says every week, I don't know why you would. But some of you do. And that's weird. So thank you. If you do watch us on YouTube, click the like button and the subscribe button. Couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Or it could. You never know.
All right, so the 2019-2020 WIAA boys and girls hockey seasons are over.
It's been fun.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all the traffic that we've gotten. We appreciate everything that you've done for us. We appreciate our fandom. Thank you. We love you.
All right, thank you, and, wait 7 months for the next episode of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.